ignore that.
Nobody.
I was trying to reach out.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Real Story with Nathaniel. Our guest tonight is
Dark tales, blending nightmares bark. Cosmic chaos, razor sharp. Turn it on, let's tear it apart. It's a real story, fucked up as our Clark.
Thomas R. Clark. Welcome to our show. That was our AI intro. You're not a fan of AI, and I want to point that out before anybody busts you out saying you were just on a show with that. So I absolutely respect your opinion on it. And that particular video. By the way, Josh, if we have names, you can get them up. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just realized they're not up. Hey, welcome to the show.
You turned me into Conan.
I'm not happy with that representation of you myself, but it was a pencil at first, and then it went sort of sword. I don't know what was going on with that.
Oh, that was great.
The pen is mightier than the AI. So, hey, I wanted to welcome you to the show. It's very amazing to meet you. I got the privilege of digging into you and your story, and like you started off. Where your professional career takes off, what I could find is you were doing journalism for a lot of time, podcasting. You were going to conventions, and at some point you got into writing. And that's who you are now. You're an author, among all the other things that you still do. I'm sure, right? Like you still do podcasting and journalism, right?
I do the journalism. The podcasting is, again, once you do it for, as long as I did it, but 15 years almost, you get tired. And
yeah.
I'm still tired.
I understand that. We started off as a relationship show, and then we got into talking to people who do interesting things and have interesting lives. And my goal meeting you here, for anybody tuning in, if you have questions, please put them in chat. We want to hear them. We will get them on screen if they're good questions, and even if they're not, we'll have fun. It's a lot of work, and I gave you and everybody, I give the respect of doing research before I get involved. And I was fortunate enough to read your new book that you sent. Was that the whole book you sent me? Because
Dead We Don't?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a novella.
It is.
That's a novella. That's a short.
I was
the
hoping
sequel to Bella's Boys.
Yeah. I got to read this, and I'm very fortunate too. It is pre-sale on Amazon right now. I think it comes out this month. Yep. I don't have it in front of me. The 26th?
Yeah.
It is definitely pre-order it now. There's a lot to it, and I'm going to show you this right now before too many people are on watching. I just was in Iceland, and I did one thing that I know not to do while in Iceland. I got a tattoo, and this tattoo is actually more related about a friend of mine who kind of had a nickname, but that is Thor. In the script that they assured me was legitimate. As I'm reading your story, and I don't want to give away anything on it. Like, it was nice. Like, I have ideas, because you do the research before you go to a place like Iceland, and you do the history. And I just saw a whole big video about Iceland and how Greenland became a thing, and Vinland and all these things. And I love your stories in that. How much do you enjoy your research as much as you enjoy your writing?
Well, I know a lot about Norse mythology to begin with. So there really wasn't a lot of research that I did into this, other than little things like how the town works, how a village in the Iron Age village would work. That was my biggest research that I did for this piece.
I felt like, though I don't know if you've even been to Iceland, but even the style, something about that, I was like, I kind of felt like I was there again. It was. Well,
one of the things that I like to do, and you notice this in the prose there, is I use the Norse spellings of the gods, and that lends, I think, a little bit to the mystique, and it makes it a little exotic when you're reading it. So I don't use these monsters like H.P. Lovecraft created his own. I go into the well and I pick out what's there already. Bella is an amalgam of and Grobe, Loki's wife, and Yanhari, the Genesee River, New York. Speaking of your producer, it's outside of Rochester. They have a sea serpent there that eats wayward men or partners, as the case is. So I amalgamated them together for this creature that, loves everybody she kills.
I love it. It's a love story. Your prose, by the way, are addictive. When you start rolling on a sentence, certain places, I mean, you do it throughout the book, but there is a point where I don't want the paragraph to end. Do you feel that way when you're writing, like, this is a sticky, sweet, I love where I'm going, and then you have to get on the next thing? But I know I have a problem with that sometimes. I'm like really enjoying the description of what's going on, and I don't want to move on.
My thing is, I'm concerned with being too purple, or I'm concerned with giving too much. So sometimes I cut the stuff short, just so that you, the reader, can fill in the blanks.
I love that.
So,
I love that.
So, yeah. So when I'm writing a sentence and I get going, or a paragraph and I get going on a scene or something, it depends on where it goes. I don't have any design to it. What you're describing to me is just what I do naturally.
I love it.
So it's nothing that's a constant thought in my head.
When you're writing, do you know the end of the story when you start writing it?
Sometimes. Like Good Boy, I wrote the opening and I wrote the ending to that, and then I filled in the blanks inside. And Bella's Boys, I always knew that in Bella's Boys, which is the previous book to Deadwood Don't, I always knew that the protagonist was going to be with her. So I had that in mind from the get-go. You want to. I'm very nihilistic sometimes, so you don't get a lot of happy endings. Deadwood Don't's got a happy ending for me. So yeah.
I mean, I know we're teasing people to go buy the book with this too, but like, I get what you're saying. I'm usually the guy that tells people that a sad ending is a happy ending, and I'm trying to.
We'll just say it is. The drug mule gets his drug
It is
mule.
a happy ending. It depends on who you're rooting for, or like the natural order of things, or like we find out a lot about man in your story. You say a lot about man as a whole in that story. It's not just about these folk tales or mythological beings. It's about man, and that's the one thing I kind of got. Like the one thing I loved about Frankenstein, it wasn't about the monster; it was about man. Man's the most horrible monster in the world. You don't quite go in that direction, but it is about man. Is very flawed.
My supernatural entities in my fiction, they're not the bad guys.
They certainly don't think they are.
And well, any good quote unquote villain is going to think they're the hero.
Yeah.
But mine goes even a step further. I don't see them. Ghosts don't scare me. People do. Okay. Let's just say that.
I think most people agree with that.
I have witnessed people doing horrible, awful things. I've been party to it. There's nothing that a supernatural entity could do to me that some tweaker down the street's not going to do to you. And this tweaker's more scarier because, quite honestly, that tweaker's for real.
Yeah. And again, they don't think they're evil. They're not like the real. Yeah. I'm trying to talk without saying there's a point in the book that sentence brought me to, and I don't want to talk about it. That's the hard part. That's why I'm starting here.
We can talk about it. That's fine. It's okay.
There's a scene in the middle in the bar that involves a shotgun.
So that came out of the editing process.
Okay. That
Initially,
was one of the more powerful things I've ever read, let alone in that story.
My editor on this book was Christine Morgan. Christine Morgan's a wonderful person. She is the queen of splatterpunk. When you hire an editor, you make sure they're like a producer in music. The editor in a book is like the producer in music. They guide you. They don't tell you what to do. They don't do it for you. They guide you.
Okay.
They correct your bad grammar because we all have horrible grammar. All right. It doesn't matter how often you write, you're still going to put a period where a comma should be, etc. So on. All right. And one thing, when Christine was editing it, and she gave me the first round of edits on it, she said, I want to know what happens to Doc and Katie. To me, at first, they were just tertiary characters that were there to move the plot along because they happened to be at a bar. And I had that little side thing thrown in with Doc. And I was like, you know what? You're right. It does. And
I wanted to know.
Yeah. So I put it in there, and it was probably one of the best things that I've done because you picked right up on it. It was one of those things. Wow. This isn't even the supernatural entity's involvement. This is two people doing awful things to one another.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought like it was just this perfect juxtaposition of, I thought this was going to be, and I'm like, oh no, that's still there, but people are still garbage. I got that, and it was jarring, which is what I want in art. I want to think. I want to be not like, I don't want to be taken out of the story. I want my worldview to be altered, or at least questioned. I want a question.
And that was foreshadowing for what happens with Oliver later on. See, it sets you up. If you have twists or anything in the story, you have to have foreshadowing for it early on. If you don't, the reader or the viewer, if it's a movie, isn't going to. It's cheating, right? They're not going to accept it. They're subconsciously going to. It was okay, but. So we eliminated the "it was okay, but" by doing that in this piece.
And I wish more movie editors, when a movie's long, realized when they cut certain things out, they're literally taking guts out of the movie or out of the story. Like, we needed to know that background, otherwise we didn't get the foreshadowing, and that makes no sense. Right. And you've taken away an entire theme that meant something.
And that's part of the problem with a lot of filmmakers is they're not writers.
Yeah,
they don't get that part of it, and they don't understand that part of it.
I've seen clips taken, even in Kevin Smith movies, a comedy where it shouldn't matter. Something was taken out that made the shit demon actually make more sense in where it was used. You know, that was taken out. We don't get that. I wanted to ask you to go back on your editor thing. So you obviously picked the right editor for you for that story. Like that, for me, brilliant move on your part to get that editor to talk with you about, hey, what about this? I've considered myself okay with words, and I've sat down and I write a lot of things that aren't stories, and sometimes they are stories. And I've never considered really being published because my punctuation is garbage. How important is an editor? Should people who are horrible at punctuation just find an editor who's willing to deal with that, or how do you suggest that somebody who's getting started in writing deal with? They're good with words, they suck at actually writing the punctuation out.
So when you get up in the morning, you go relieve yourself and you brush your teeth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Getting an editor is one of those two things. You have to do it.
Okay.
You must do it. If you don't, your piece is going to not be good. You have to do it. Everybody has to hire an editor. Do not use an AI-based editing program or grammar correction program like Grammarly, for example, and think that it's going to do the job, because it's not.
I agree with you.
Quite often it doesn't understand the nuance of the sentence because it doesn't get us as a human. And that's the problem that AI writing has too. This generative AI writing has, is it doesn't have that human element. So it all sounds the same, and it all reads the same, and it all looks the same because it's only data mining what's already out there. It doesn't catch the imperfections that make things work.
And humans are imperfect, and that's why
we like
imperfect things. Yeah.
And that imperfectness is what art is. Otherwise, you're a fartist, a fake artist, a fartist.
I've been a fartist. I'm positive. I might be that right now in this interview. Trying to create something. I always feel like the outsider, which is something I've heard you have echoed with your first time at a convention, signing the books instead of being the person at the convention meeting people.
That was surreal. Okay. I
need to hear about this.
I the first time I vended for anything was at Scares That Care. Now, before that, I had done a few different shows, smaller conventions throughout the country and throughout New York State, where I was there with my podcast. And it wasn't the same because I wasn't really selling anything. I was promoting a podcast, or I was using my table as a resting spot. But at Scares That Care, that charity weekend, and it was 2018, when I sold Good Boy for the first time, and I sold out of it. It was, I had 50 copies with me, and they were gone in 2 days. Gone.
Congrats. No, seriously, that's
Thank you.
Life-changing.
It was. In fact, when we were on our way to that convention, my wife looked at me. She goes, "This is real. This is now real." I said, "Yeah, it is." And I've been a snowball going down a hill ever since.
I love hearing this stuff, and I love the fact that your wife was there with you and she recognized the moment and called it out. Because with so many times we go through life and we have a moment we don't realize it was. We can look at it in hindsight and appreciate it, but when you're fortunate enough to catch it, look around the room and see your 10 friends that you might never have in a room again. That's important. I try to do that a lot now. As I get older, I try to every once in a while take a mental picture of, well, hi puppy.
That's Rocket.
I've seen pictures of that puppy.
No, that's Apple, but Rocket's the one who's mouthy. You be quiet. Thank you.
Thanks for your input. So
he's always got something to say.
You're at this convention and you've sold 50 books. You're now somebody people want to talk to at a convention. What was it? Well, let me cut the shortcut here. Is the saying that you should never meet your heroes true? Because now you're on the other side.
It's a 50-50 on that. My heroes from the writing world that I got to meet at the first Scares That Care that I went to in 2016. It was all positive experience with all of them. But as you learn people and you get to learn a community, not everybody's going to like you. You're not going to like everybody.
Yep.
That's human nature. It's how professional you are towards them that matters. So just, I just, look at it this way. Just be nice. Be nice to everybody. Even if you don't care for them, just be nice to them. And hopefully they'll do the same to you.
Yeah, I love it. I never understood the ability to not be a dick. Just don't.
Too many people are, though. There's a lot of people that are.
They take pride in it. I was a young kid as well. I'm a teenager. I was a dick on purpose, and I enjoyed it. But I'm also now a real adult, and I don't get when I see real adults being a dick on purpose.
There's something about the appeal of the wrestling heel to people, and the wrestling heel is the guy who's the quote unquote bully, but he's not. And he has certain humor that he uses. It's insult humor for the most part. Like, hey, I'm in the armpit of the world right now, Utica, New York. Those kind of things. But some people think that kind of curmudgeon humor is really funny in person, and it's not. You're insulting people. And you don't realize you are because you think you're being funny.
Yeah.
So I've always told friends of mine, wrestling humor, if you're going to be a wrestler, you're going to use wrestling heel humor, it's rude. You have to remember that. So make sure you use it sparingly when it's not going to be rude.
Unless you want to wrestle.
You want to be a heel. If you want to be the bad guy, be the bad guy.
Just remember, he usually loses. The thing. You mentioned Scares That Cares, a charity that I know is very personal to you. Let's talk about that real quick, just to get it out there again, because what I've read, I love the concept and I love the idea.
I learned about Scares That Care, a 501c charity, from listening to the Horror Show of Brian Keene podcast. That was on the Project iRadio at the time that became Project Entertainment Network as time went by. I had just left This Is Infamous, doing their wrestling podcast and doing journalism for them. And I was looking for a new outlet, and I reached out to the people behind Project iRadio, and I pitched them 2 podcast ideas. One was Necrocasticon, my heavy metal and horror podcast that went on for 8 years. And the other was The Curtain Jerkers, which was it was half wrestling news and half wrestling satire. And the problem was nobody got that we were doing satire. They thought it was just me making voices when I had a whole staff of people working on this with me.
All the work, and they're just like, he's just goofing around on a mic.
Yeah. You're thinking that's Tom making voices because I can do stuff like that. But no, I had a whole team working with me, and we had production meetings, and we did these for 8 years. Every week we did produce 2 podcasts and put them out. So, and we did that through Project iRadio. Well, Project iRadio got sold to Armand Rosamilia, and he turned it into Project Entertainment Network. And by that time, I was already doing behind the scenes editing work and production work for the names in the business that had podcasts on there, like Brian Keene and the Horror Show.
Yeah,
that production work was actually done by Matt Wilderson, but I did do his podcast with Chris Golden, Defenders Dialogue, where they talked about the Defenders comic books from Marvel. And then there was 3 Guys with Beards, which was Jonathan Mayberry, Christopher Golden, and James A. Moore, God bless his soul, their podcast. And being their production and back-end guy on that really helped me in my career a lot. So when I went down to that first Scares That Care, I did it as a journalist. I went there and I covered it for Rue Morgue. Had a mentorship at Rue Morgue at that time. My mentor
that's a fantastic name for my pet. Like, just I grew up with that in my house. Love it.
Yeah. So Monica Kubler was my mentor there. She taught me a lot about reviewing because I did reviews for them. That was my thing. And my review for Brian Keene's book, The Complex, was his favorite review of any of his books ever, he told me. So that made me feel good.
I take it was positive.
Because he's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
And
that's great. That's really
that's who I met there was all my heroes, It's like, come on. The guy that wrote the very first book that I became enamored with, that I stemmed off of when I was 7 years old, was there. My mind was blown. And I didn't realize he had written that book until he told me. It was the first book he published. That's Monteleone.
Amazing. That's some great full circle stuff. Like, just on a personal level and a life level, and yeah.
Well, he did a seminar there and talked to people, and he read an old column of his where he was ripping journalists to pieces, saying journalists know how to write, but they don't know how to tell a story. So after he was done, I went to his table, and I said, "You did a real good job of disillusioning me there, Tom." He goes, "Oh no, I've been following you. You know how to tell a story. You've been following me?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I have my pulse on the community." So
you're the community.
Yeah.
That's great. You're the pulse. He's like that's you're somewhere.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
I'm loving this discovery of yourself as we're going through. Like, you're like, and then this happened, and I'm growing here, and I'm doing these things, but like I'm finding out I'm in this world too. It's
super surreal. I'm telling you, Nathaniel, it is, because these are people that you thought were, aside. You couldn't touch them. You couldn't, they were a name on the cover of a book or a picture in the back of a book. And now I'm like drinking a beer with these guys. I'm like, what the heck?
I have an early story, and I've gotten, it was teenage. It wasn't my first favorite books were written by dead people, Tolkien, and I don't remember the name of the author, but the story was like the sand fairy, the children in it. And it was about this Arabian sand fairy that granted wishes. That's all I remember. But as a kid, I read it like 10 times.
My book like that was more science fiction tales that Tom Monteleone wrote. So there you go.
And as I got a little older, I got into a gentleman named Stephen Bruce. He writes fantasy, which is not my typical genre. And I loved it so much that after reading 5 of his books, I decided, like, on my birthday, I'm going to give him a call. His number was in the phone book along with his street address. I called him and he said, "Hey, that's really weird, but hey, happy birthday. Thank you for calling me." A year later, I'm in Minneapolis where he was based out of, and I call him again. I'm like, "Hey, I'm in town." He goes, "If you buy me dinner, we can meet." And I'm like, "I'm 18. I can't buy you dinner." He's like, "Just come over." So I got to sit in his living room and talk with him for like 2 hours before a baseball game came on, and he kicked me out. Like, I'm like, I got to meet my hero. And he gave me inside scoop and how much he hated Piers Anthony's characters and just like little stuff.
Oh, like come on. Let's hate Piers Anthony because he's Piers Anthony, not because of his punful characters.
I read most of his books and then I stopped reading, and then I found out he wrote a book about a girl's panties, like in Xanth or something. Like, you went too far.
Yeah,
The Color of Her Panties is the name of the book. I'm like, all his books were so formulaic and cookie cutter, but as a kid, they were perfect.
That's why I like Ogre and the Xanth books.
That's where I started. I think it was Ogre. Yeah. And then I read his space series. He had a couple good stuff, and he should have stopped a lot sooner than he did.
Yeah, you should have stopped doing bad things to women a long time ago too. But that's what it is.
And taking in children that run away and run to his house, like he telling the story like he's the hero. I'm like, dude, you should have called the cops immediately. What's wrong with you? Like, broke.
The fantasy books that came out in the 80s were an odd lot. You had like the Thomas Covenant books that all came out all at once with those brilliant covers and those brilliant titles and those awful words in between the covers, because those books suck. Okay, they just are horrible. But Lord Foul's Bane, how could that not be the coolest name for a book ever?
Yeah, I remember I had some of those books. I also had Robert Asprin's Myth series too. Like I would always like if somebody's doing something weird, I was on it. But there was Mudge Flinks and Flux series.
Alan Dean Foster.
I actually emailed him and before I had a show. I don't think he would do it now, but like he was responsive. I'm like, your series about the Spellsinger would be a great Xbox game to use those stupid controllers we all bought that are shaped like guitars. Like imagine if you used that to cast a spell in a video game and you had to sing along. Like it would fit with his whole world. He's like, that's a great idea. Do you know anybody that makes video games and wants to pay me? I was like, no.
People don't realize how important Alan Dean Foster is to Gen X. Okay. With Gen X, there's Stephen fucking King, and then there's Alan Dean Foster. And the reason being is because he did all of the movie adaptations, tie-ins. He wrote Star Wars.
The first time I saw his name was on Alien, the book.
That Star Wars paperback that says by George Lucas, guess who wrote that?
Luke and Leia. Well,
Alan Dean Foster wrote that.
Yes. He wrote the first Star Wars book. And it comes right down to it. He did it. And he kind of did it like James Blish did it. Like I think he did it by memory. Like he's like, there's like I saw the movie once.
Oh no. He was contracted.
No, I know, but I don't know if he had source material. Like James Blish was contracted to do Star Trek.
The book came out 6 months before the movie. He had the original screenplay.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Because I did see some of the original screenplay stuff. Okay, that's
so. The George Lucas Star Wars novel is written by Alan Dean Foster, and it is the treatment that was originally shown to Francis Ford Coppola and those guys. It's that script that he wrote.
I'm thinking of the second, the book that wasn't the second movie.
You're thinking of Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Yes. Thank you. That's where I got it wrong.
The book in it. Yeah. Splinter of the Mind's Eye was created just so that it could be a low budget Star Wars if they weren't able to have the budget that they had for the first Star Wars.
Okay.
And that's why it's isolated onto a planet.
Okay. And it would be fairly easy. What I remember, it's been years since it's not his greatest book. But everything his name was on, I read for years.
But you're talking
in a bookstore.
That book's great.
That book?
Splinter of the Mind's Eye is wonderful, man.
Is it? I will take your word. You know what? You're the guest. I will say it's absolutely a great book. I will do it untold. I'm still not going to reread it. I had a question. I want to get back to you. Like, there's a million great authors out there. We're going to talk about one other one that you always, I'm sure, have to talk about. But before I do that, when I was 9 years old, I wrote my first story, and it was the greatest compliment I got about it was that I got accused of plagiarism. It was a story called The Mysterious Box. Do you remember the first story you wrote?
Godzilla.
Even if you didn't complete it. Oh, Godzilla. Tell me about your take on it.
I didn't write an action scene and got yelled at for it.
It's Godzilla.
I did the build up to the fight and the after the fight. I got yelled at for it. My dad yelled at me.
I might have yelled at you too, honestly, because that's there's some of the old movies I just skip to the action now.
I was in third grade. Okay.
You could have. I think I was fifth, so I had a reason. I didn't finish mine either. I wrote about this kid finding a mysterious box and how cool it was and what was inside, and I'm like Pulp Fiction. You don't know what's in the box.
It also had a that sentence in it. A triple that. And my dad grounded me for that. Literally.
He made you the author you are today. You should.
He did. Well, him and Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Hey, Josh, you wanted to pop in before. I saw you pop up. What, did you want to comment? I definitely want to get you in on this.
No. Nothing important to say. Not that we needed two of us arguing with the guest, but I was going to say I enjoyed the first handful of Covenant books. The last couple there, I don't think needed to exist, but the first couple I really enjoyed, partially because he was such a hateable character. And
He's awful.
I liked rooting for the guy that I hated. And I don't know why. I don't usually like that sort of thing. But Thomas Covenant was such a piece of shit. And I wanted him to win the entire time. And so I love that about those books. Yeah.
Nathaniel, did you read the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant?
Not, I'm positive I have, but like I'm trying to search my memory for even plot points, and it's one of
The
those
first
books
thing
that
that
I'm pouring
happens.
through.
Guess what's the first thing that happens when he gets to this fantasy land?
It's
he turns
a
Kate.
word-
It's
It's
well,
a
not-
word that I'm
we're-
not sure we're allowed to say on a couple of
no.
these
I'm
platforms,
going to
that's
give
all I'll
I'm
say.
going to give an example that we can. Okay,
Okay,
you know the scene in Quest for Fire with Ray Don Chong?
Mm-hmm.
That happens.
That's his first thing.
Yep.
First thing he does.
That's
Did
where
they
he
explain
starts.
that he thinks he's in a dream and it's inconsequential and nothing's real?
Yes, but it's real enough
Sorta.
at that point that it doesn't matter. Like it's
Okay.
There is no question.
Then I
when
did
this
not
book
read it.
starts, that he is a gigantic pile of shit. Like it
Yeah.
leaves nothing to the imagination there. He is an asshole.
He's such a bad person. He makes the lead character from Breaking Bad look like a Disney saint.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, well,
That's
you've
how much
talked me into it.
Yeah.
I love rooting
So-
for the bad guy or for the guy, the person you're supposed to hate. I'm like, yeah, I don't know why. I want to see what happens.
And
If
you're
you
gonna
win.
love this book, those books. Then, yeah, you'll love them.
So anyways, that's all I was jumping in for. That was
cool.
that was my yeah, there you go.
I do have, and it goes back to the same author that I mentioned before. There is a series of books. It's called the Demu Trilogy, written by James Blish. I actually dare people to read it. It is such a pile of shit trilogy of garbage sci-fi books of the man being just the man. I will save the day. Woman need help. You cling to my leg while I save day. Like that level of sci-fi horribleness.
You speak like a man who hasn't read the Gore books.
I have read some gore books.
I'm so sorry.
I went through yeah. I need to get back to you.
All young men go through a phase in life where they read a Gore book, and at that point, they either take on the BDSM lifestyle or they don't, and they don't read any more books from Gore. That's pretty much how it works.
I think, yeah, that makes sense. I read it and I was confused. I was a young reader. I was like, is that pleasurable? Is that, yeah.
No.
To some. So I need to know, this is one thing I always want to ask authors, and it's important to me because I want to get back to you. Because we could talk all day about other people, and I only have you right now. When you on the day, this is a question I'm always curious about. On the day you wrote that first book that you were gonna finish and publish, what were you thinking the day before you wrote it? What was going through your head? What made you sit down the next day and do it?
Good boy.
Because there's all procrastination, like on other books that you were gonna write or thought you should do. What happened that day or the day before that made you do it?
My father died.
I
That's it.
understand that more than you probably get. I turned my life around 2 weeks after my father died. Completely changed almost everything because I realized, and I don't know what you're going to say. I want to know if you can echo on this. I realized that I had not done anything in my life that made him proud. So I set out to do that.
Let's back up, Nathaniel. You did. You just don't think you did. Okay.
Well, no, I was be a pile of shit.
Well,
No, I was thinking like on the sense where he's in the VFW with his friends, and there's like, my son, he went to Harvard, and my son did this, and my son's doing this. My dad, the only thing he had to say was, well, my son managed Subway for a year. Like that level of pride. I'm sure he's proud of me as his child, but I'm talking about the pride of like he did these things because I taught him, and I took everything he ever taught me, and I never used it to that point.
all right. We have a similar experience then. My father adopted me when I was 6 months old. My mother's my biological mother. My dad that raised me, Jack. He adopted me when I was 6 months old. Okay. He was my light and shining, my guiding, shining light up until I became a teenager. And I got in an argument with my mother one day because she was giving my dog away. She was rehoming my dog. And I lost my shit. And she told me that my dad wasn't my dad. That I was adopted. Yeah. And then she started using him. From that day forward, she used him as a weapon against me. With the threats of, and wait till your father gets home, blah, blah, blah. So you can see that how can that compile on things.
Yeah, yeah.
And we had a tenuous relationship until I got married. When I got married at my wedding, my dad and I talked together. It was tearful, and we hugged each other and we forgave each other. So that was good. And from that day forward, we had a great relationship. I wish he'd been alive to see my fiction because he was an avid reader, and I call him my first editor. That, for example, that we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So
and knowing what you say about editors, I feel the love, like, of calling
he
him
gave
your
me
first editor.
My first Tarzan book, my first Frankenstein, my first Dracula, all came from him. I used to think it was my mother, but no, it was my father who nurtured my imagination. So, yeah, I miss him every day because of that. And I wish he was here physically to enjoy what I've been doing. But I know that the ethereal him is watching.
Sure.
And Good Boy came out of me not wanting to be sad over him dying anymore. I had already written most of a book that I thought was garbage, and I had trumped it. And when Dad died, I was standing in the reception line at the funeral trying to keep my mind off of him. And a few weeks beforehand on my podcast, we had interviewed the cast, the creators of a movie called Love in the Time of Monsters. And it featured zombie versions of small animals in it, particularly squirrels. And yeah, so I'm sitting in the line. And my dad hated zombie fiction. He couldn't stand it. He didn't understand it. But he loved dogs. So I was standing there, and I was like, man, it'd suck if you were a dog in a zombie apocalypse. You have to bite him in the head to kill him. What if you were a Jack Russell Terrier? Then you'd really be screwed. Wait.
You have a lot of energy, though.
What if the zombies were squirrels? And Good Boy was born. And then Good Boy's a zombie virus. It hits the world. It's a mutation of roundworms and rabies together. It kills humans. We're not zombies, but small animals, it will animate them as a vector. Dogs and cats and house pets that have had their rabies vaccinations are immune to it. So it's basically Watership Down with zombies. It's a family.
Josh, did you just buy this book too?
I mean,
this is a fucking amazing, dude. I'm sad that I picked, like, I only had time to read so much, and I picked the one you said because it's an upcoming book.
Yeah.
And of everybody else, I picked that's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a story of a Jack Russell Terrier and his family. His mate is pregnant, and they're living in a woodchuck burrow with the woodchucks, a bunny rabbit, and a cat. And they go and find the cat knows of a place for them to go to, and it's their journey there. It's a travel log. It's not a hero's journey. It's a travel log. You know, we go from point A to point B, and that's all it is. And this is what happens during our trip. And yeah.
I love this idea. Wow. I've been on Creative Jags where I've said, wouldn't it be cool if, but wow, did you just connected so many Legos in so many interesting ways. I'm blown away by that. First off, I want to thank you for your other answer and your true feelings on how this came about, because I never know where that question is going to go. And thank you for sharing. First off, I don't get that a lot. Thank you. And I rarely share about my dad as well. So thanks for being the person I can talk to.
The story's even funnier because when I drive Uber on the side because it pays the bills, and I'll have a writer in my car and they'll look at my profile and say, "Oh, you're a writer? What have you written?" Blah blah blah. And I'll tell them, I'll say, "Yeah, when I hit my mid-age crisis, my wife asked me what I wanted to do, and I said most guys get a guitar and a girlfriend, and I've been writing songs for you since we met." She goes, "Do you want to write books?" I say, "Sure." She goes, "How about I win you $30,000 at the casino so you can buy covers and pay for editing for those books?" I said, "Great idea. Why don't you do that?" So she did.
Was she a gambler before this?
Oh yeah. So my
Okay.
dad died. My dad passed, and she went to the casino that he went to and played on his machines for a month. And in that month, she won $30,000 over the month.
All right. I'm not a big believer in supernatural in reality sort of thing. And I will tell you another story about my dad.
Shit happens for a reason.
I will tell you another story. 2 stories, actually. My mother was buying a car shortly after my dad had passed. One she probably shouldn't have been buying because she's on fixed income. She goes to the car dealer. She's getting ready to sign the paperwork. They put her off for 2 hours like they do at car dealers. And they say, "Come back tomorrow." She comes back tomorrow, and while they have her waiting again before going in the office to sign the paperwork, she sits in a car and presses the OnStar button. Well, during that month, they had an OnStar button contest where you sit in a car and press a button. And if you hear you won this car, you won that car. She won the car while waiting to sign the paperwork on a much more expensive car, and she drove out with her free car. Shortly after my dad died, I'm like, is that a thing? After my dad's funeral, we all came back to the house after we put him in the hole, which is a weird thing to do. And we come back to the house, and she gets out of the car, and this feral cat that has never, it was probably a year old, maybe a little bit younger, never done anything but hiss at us and run away, even when we fed it. Just hated people. Walked up to my mother and let her pick it up, and it was her favorite animal, indoor cat, from that point on. I don't necessarily believe in the afterlife, but man, weird stuff happens.
That cat knew. That cat knew she
The cat
needed
knew.
somebody.
Yeah, and that cat was with her until sadly it got hit by a car because it snuck out one night. But like, it was with her for years. It was an amazing cat. Like I had moved out shortly after that too. So the cat was her person in the house because I had gotten married and moved up to closer to the big town. So anyway, I think that's really that's a hell of a story. When you write your autobiography, that's a huge piece. That's some cool stuff. To get back, we talked about your upcoming book. We'll talk about a little bit more. We talked about Good Boy. We've talked about Bella's Boys, award-winning story, and
Nominated.
We'll say you win if you get nominated. It's a winner.
It's okay. That's what I say too. That's what I
But
thought.
I said it wrong though.
A nomination's a win. It's an acknowledgement from your peers that, hey, we like what you did. Attaboy. That's what awards are. That's what the Grammys are. That's what the Oscars are. That's what any award is. It's your peers saying, attaboy.
Keep it up. Keep it
Yep.
up.
And them acknowledging you and you getting a nomination. I've had 2 nominations for Splatterpunk Awards, and that's the extreme horror and Splatterpunk community's way of telling me, hey, Tom, we like what you're doing. Keep it up.
I love it. And I think it's important. And again, I'm glad we had this discussion on, and nomination is an award because I have a lot of actors on who are nominated winners too, but I think they're the same amount of cool. It doesn't make a difference. Anyway, I want to talk about God Provides. The God Provides. That is big on it all. You tell me what I need to know about this story.
Originally, that book was called Fireflies and Apple Pies.
Well, that sounds delicious. Like a good summer day in July next to the
Or-
creek or creek,
or
depending
late-
when you're from.
Late September during the harvest, maybe.
Oh, apple pies. Sorry. Yeah. I'm riffing bad.
All right. I love Stephen King. We all do.
Okay.
And I was in a workshop one month, and I wanted to do something that was 4 novelettes that made one story. And I wrote in this workshop, what I then called Black Deaths. It is then evolved into what is now A Prayer from the Dead, another book that I wrote. It's a cyberpunk book. But when I first wrote it, it didn't really work. So the second workshop that I went into to do something like this with my mentor Garrett, I really focused on having it be snapshots of this family in upstate New York. And it starts in the modern era and it ends during the Revolutionary War. The stories go back in time. There's 4 novelettes in it. And here's the difference between it and the Cycle of the Werewolf. Between The God Provides and Cycle of the Werewolf. Cycle of the Werewolf is 12 short stories that take place on 12 full moons and tell an overarching story. My werewolves don't change during the full moon. That's something that was made up in a movie. The first Wolfman movie, the poem is, even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayer at night will become a wolf when the wolfsbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright. That's the original poem. And the Dracula eats the Wolfman. They added the full moon part. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Now you do.
Honestly, like you.
Here's
like,
another thing about the Wolfman, the Lon Chaney Wolfman movie. Why does a movie that is filmed during World War II not have any Germans in it? You know why?
No, I have guesses.
Because there was a Nazi in that movie. Lawrence Talbot, the American.
Huh.
During World War II, we were almost this close to siding with Germany. This close. And that movie was a metaphor, a commentary on that. The werewolf in fiction represents the fascist and the Nazi. It always has. It is a rage beast. It destroys things without thinking. Larry Talbot is the only non-British person in the Wolfman movie. He is the Nazi. Now, the gypsies, they originally were Jews. The pentacle on the palm was originally a Star of David, but because of anti-Semitism in Hollywood, the studio made them change it. And the screenplay was written by a Jew. He was pissed.
I imagine.
But Kurt did what he was told to do, so he did it. So, yeah.
I did not.
The Wolfman is so important to our fiction, and people don't get it. Because almost everything that we use for werewolves in fiction comes from that movie and Dracula. That's it. And people, it's lycanthropes and Greece and ancient this. No. Skinwalkers and stuff like that are not werewolves. They're different things. Don't confuse the two. Everything that we have for werewolves, the wolf's bane, the silver bullets, all of that comes from 2 places. Dracula and the Wolfman movie. That's it. So that's what I went to for my source material for my vampires and my werewolves. My vampires in my books are Stoker vampires. They're revenants. They're evil people who did evil things during their lives, and when they die, they come back to life. Biting them does not turn them into a vampire. They're just awful people.
Yeah, and the biting thing always kind of to turn into vampire. And whenever I see it, the next question always says, well, why didn't you turn that person into a henchman? Why didn't you? Why do you kill at all? You can make an army of henchmen or people that do, or is that too much work and you don't want to do the accounting?
You see the flaw there. You see the logic flaw there.
And then I loved Buffy, but I never understood well, he lost his soul, so therefore he's evil. But he wasn't a bad person, so he nobody they never.
Don't get me started on Buffy.
What, the fighting skills that you get when you die?
No,
and become a vampire.
Spike.
Oh,
Spike is stolen from a splatterpunk novel, the first splatterpunk novel. The character's name in that book was Rudy. Joss Whedon has gone on record as saying that Spike is Rudy.
I thought he was just ripping off Sid Vicious.
No. The very first splatterpunk novel is called The Light at the End. Dracula turns a punk rocker into a vampire and lets him loose in New York City.
Well, they did do that in Spike's background as well. So
okay. Yeah, that's what it is. So imagine if the kids from Stranger Things were bicycle couriers instead of teenagers. This is the plot to The Light at the End, the very first splatterpunk novel by John Skipp and Craig Spector. Okay. Imagine if the D&D nerds from Stranger Things were older and they were bicycle couriers in New York City playing D&D, and then they find a real vampire. What do? That's the light at the end. The light at the end, the reason it's splatterpunk, it has the most repulsive R scene in it that I've ever read in any book. When Dracula dominates Rudy. It's vile. It makes a Serbian film look like a children's film.
Jesus Christ, man.
That's how vile it is. You will you will have a complete interpretation of the R word after you read that book. It will make you a better person.
Christ. All right.
You will finally understand how repulsive and how awful that act is. That's what splatterpunk is. Splatterpunk brings attention to things that you need to pay attention to. It is transgressive. It is punk for a reason. It is counterculture. It is there to teach you a lesson. If you are a bad person, this is what's going to happen to you in spades.
So that brings me to a question. And I was going to ask you for a definition of what splatterpunk is, and I'm sure there's other ways to describe it that you might even use. But so my question is, based on that sentence, is Clive Barker splatterpunk?
Yes.
Because most of his characters you never have sympathy for. They didn't do anything wrong. A guy finds a tied up knot on the ground and is now cursed for a violent death. Like, he never worked. Your book, I wanted to draw that comparison too. I had sympathy for some of your characters, or I knew why they had to have happen what was going to happen. Clive Barker would just pick somebody out of a crowd walking down the street, and something shitty's going to happen to him.
Clive Barker is splatterpunk. Clive Barker is transgressive. He has to be. He's gay. All right. And he wants to bring attention to the perils of the gay community in his fiction in a time where being gay is a death sentence. Because you got to realize his books came out in the 80s and early 90s.
The Books of Blood I fanboyed on, like literally giving copies to people in school. This is the best thing.
I'm going to tell you right now, you can't read Clive Barker and not be empathetic to the gay community. You learn it through his words. You learn that empathy by reading his books.
I think when I read them, I already had it, but I never got that lesson, and I'm going to reread them now to find that, because I'm pissed I didn't see it.
Poppy Z. Bright as well. I got to moderate a panel with Billy Martin a couple of years ago. Poppy Z. Bright. Poppy's a trans man. And and they still allowed to use Poppy Z. Bright because it's a pen name anyway. So a lot of Poppy's books was very transgressive, and all the lead characters in them were gay. And when I got to do this panel, I opened it up by saying, listen, I am a child of the 80s. When I grew up, I was raised in a Christian household, and I was told that gay people were sinners and they were going to go to hell.
And they didn't use the word gay people.
Right.
Yeah.
I looked at Billy dead in the eye. I said, you want to say that your fiction didn't change anybody? I'm going to tell you right now, it changed me. Because reading books by you and reading books by Clive Barker made me an ally to you. Made me have empathy for you. It taught me. I learned. If I can, anybody can. So don't think that your words were wasted, I told him. I made him cry. It was a good cry.
Good. Yeah. Hey,
I cried too when I was telling the story.
I'm almost emotional hearing it, because it was before I discovered these books. I was using internet bulletin boards in the 80s, where you dial up with your computer and a slow ass modem. And there was Commodore. It was the Commodore 64, and there was one that had it was called FidoNet, I think, at the time, and it would send messages around the world. It would take days as one at midnight, like a bulletin board would connect somewhere else. And I basically said, I don't understand, and I didn't use the word gay. They're evil. They're going to hell. And one guy took a time out of his day, and he messaged me, why are you so angry? What did gay people ever do to you? And I'm like, it's just evil. And all the stuff I'd heard that was poured into me, like all the hatred. And he's like,
you were just parroting. Yep.
I was parroting. And he said something. He's like, do you like broccoli? And I was like, yeah, I love broccoli. He's like, I hate broccoli. Why is that? why do I like something that and want something in me that I don't want something in me that you want in you? And does that make you a bad person? And he took it that direction. And he explained, like, do you remember the first time you looked at a female form and you thought that looked good? I'm like, well, yeah, I think it was Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. And he's like, for me, it was Aquaman in the cartoon. And I suddenly realized people are just different. That you don't need to hate. You like, and this man, and I have no idea who he was. We never talked again after this. This person changed my life with words on a bulletin board system to a stranger or probably around the world. Words matter. Words matter.
They took the time to talk to you nice about it too.
Yeah. And I was being a hateful person.
Yeah. I have never thought of myself as a racist person. But that's my privilege that has allowed me to do that. So the day that I was told that I had privilege, I lost my shit. I'm Irish, I said. Blah, blah, blah. And I went down that path.
I had long hair. I was picked on by the cops just like the black people. I had that argument.
And so Nicole says to me, she's a woman of color. Her child is mixed. She says, Tom, we're not going to argue about this. I just want you to answer this question for me. Yes or no? When you get on a bus, do little old ladies clench their purse? I said, no. Tom, when my 5-year-old son gets on a bus, little old ladies clench their purse because he's black. You're right, Nicole. I have privilege.
Yeah.
Yep. That changed. That was 15 years ago. That changed my life.
Yeah. If you don't have to think about how people are going to interact with you the moment you wake up, like when you make your daily plans, if you don't have to think, well, I got to avoid that. Like, yeah, you have some privileges in your life. You're not wasting energy on these thoughts that nobody should have to deal with.
I take lessons like that and I put it in my fiction. And I'm going to use this to bring us back to the God Provides that we were originally talking about before I derailed us.
I derailed us, but
well, I did because of fucking Joss Whedon. But
bastard.
I love to take conspiracy theories and I like to play with them and you put them into my fiction because they're fun, because they're all bullshit. Okay. But they're good fiction. They're good urban fantasy. They're good urban tales, urban tall tales. And one of those is the RF negative blood thing there about the purity of the race, blah, blah, blah. So my vampire in this book only wants that blood. That's the only blood.
The tastiest.
Yeah, the tastiest is the sweetest royal blood. Yeah, that's why so I will take stuff like that and put it into my fiction. And in that story, there's a woman walking down the road. She uses the word libtard. So you immediately can tell she's a conservative.
You know who she is.
Yeah, you know this person. But I don't plan her out to be a bad person. You feel empathy for her when she gets killed. You do. Because I put a personality into her.
Yeah.
That's key. But sometimes those personalities are bad things, like the vampire wanting the RF negative blood. That's all they feed off. And
if they say it's superior.
Right. So that gave me opportunities with that character to make them even nastier and more horrible than I already had imagined them. Because sometimes when you're writing, the characters take you places. And this Chad, because his name's Chad, he really took me places. Oh, it was
follow
great.
with Chad. Something fun's going to happen.
Yeah. So anyway, whereas we were talking about Cycle of the Werewolf in comparison to The God Provides, and I had mentioned that the Cycle of the Werewolf is 12 short stories told on 12 full moons.
Yes.
The God Provides is 4 novelettes, each taking place on a different pagan cross-quarter holiday. So instead of the main holidays, which are the solstices and the equinoxes, it's at the ones in between, the May Day, Candlemas, which we just had, or Imbolc, if you want to call it that. I say Candlemas because it's easier because people remember it.
People know what that
then there's May Day, Halloween, and then Lammas, the first day of August. They're like the first days of the month or the last days of the months. So that's when my story's in that, and they start in modern day, and the second story takes place a few years before the first story. Then the third story takes place a few decades before the second story. And the fourth story takes place a few centuries before the previous story. So it goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
I love when writers do stuff like that because and tell me if I'm wrong, you are challenging yourself. Like
Yes.
you set up this rule as a challenge to yourself, and we get to watch you like as an abstract to see if you pull it off the way you wanted to. Like you could tell sometimes like that's what you wanted to do. Did you do what you wanted to do?
Yep. And the way I did it was this. The first story is told in past tense. The second story I started off talking it in past tense, and then it shifts to present tense, and then the rest of the stories remain in present tense. So there's something going on here. I alert your brain to what I'm doing subconsciously. It was all by design.
A real quick aside, I wonder if that's why Dan Brown I don't know what he's doing sometimes with his tense, but it just traps you in because your brain's like, what is this? What? I don't know. Sorry. Your use of tense made me think of that. I'm not saying. Go ahead.
Go on. You finish.
I'm not saying I grew quickly tired of Dan Brown but I was fascinated by his style of writing, the way he chose to put words the way he did for me. But after a while, I just
don't disparage the Dan Browns or the Stephanie Meyers.
I'm not disparaging, but like I was fascinated by his style of writing. I really was. But like I read 3 stories in a row and they kind of blurred, and I did the same thing with another author, and I can't get back into it.
That's his thing. That's his inexperience as a writer. Well, okay. Dan Brown has a reputation of being a poor writer, a poor prose writer.
But is he doing it on purpose?
He just has this reputation. I'm not going to disparage another creative.
Okay, yeah.
All right. And so as a result of that, yes, there is a commonality that we'll just say that his writing looks like it's AI written. But it was before AI existed. What's that tell you?
I know who it ripped off.
Well, yeah, he ripped off himself
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he told the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
But say what you will about Dan or Stephanie or E.L. James there that wrote the 50 Shades of fan fiction, 50 Shades of Grey.
A story written by somebody who doesn't actually do what they're writing about.
Well, it doesn't. Yeah. Beside all of that, it creates readers. So I may not like their books, but I don't care as long as somebody else does.
100%.
They're going to read my books because we all rise together.
I agree.
This isn't a competition.
I tell bar owners that, like, I used to have a job where I dealt with, like, the bar across the street is not competition. They're another reason to come to your part of town. Right. And I say, and again, I'm not disparaging Dan Brown. Me personally, if somebody was on the show and they loved every word he's ever written and is going to write, I love it. Like, you should have things you love, regardless. In my opinion, means nothing. I'm just this guy. Love what you love. Right. I say that a lot. We're really running long, and I did want to talk real quick. I want to get to your upcoming book because that's why you're here. Well, you're here because I want to make a quick shout out to David Fairhead, who introduced me to you. We have a graphic first podcast. I watched his interview before coming into this. The dude's amazing. Go to listen to Kettle Whistle Radio, and he has a bunch of things going out there. He's a great guy. I love his interview style, and he has great guests. If you love this interview, you'll love David. He's a really good guy. I met him at a Christmas party, and we just talked nonstop. Like, we just clicked. And he's like, "Oh, you know who you need to meet? Thomas R. Clark." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." So one thing that we talked about a lot, him and I've read about you, metal and horror fiction, splatterpunk, always seem to go together. Do you have any idea why that is? I mean,
they're transgressive
people.
They're both
is it the transgression? Yeah. And so the other question I had to back on that is, why hasn't anybody made a movie of King Diamond's Abigail yet?
I don't know. I know.
Like, that's the perfect confluence for me. That is the perfect horror story and the perfect metal music, especially of the era. Like, he's never done better. I think Them was okay. Actually, it was my favorite album musically and mix-wise. But, like, Abigail needs to be a movie. Somebody needs to write it into a real book. Somebody needs to make it more than a couple tracks on an album that very few people know.
Well, as long as it's not as horrible as the new Dracula movie.
I
I'll
didn't
be
even see
behind
it. Have you seen the new
No.
Frankenstein?
I loved it.
I haven't seen it yet because I want to be in a real good place, like relaxed and awake. And all that thing.
You know how Nosferatu was really pretty to watch? It was a gorgeously made film. The score was brilliant. The acting was beautiful in it. But the movie made Blade Runner look like a fast action movie. Okay. Oh my God. It was my number one movie of the year. It was. I can never watch that movie again without it putting me to sleep. Frankenstein corrects those problems, I think, but that's me. In the new Dracula movie, oh God, it's awful. Okay, there's a perfume subplot in it. Okay, because the first thing you think of when you think of Dracula is perfume, right?
Well, yeah, super smell, right?
Yeah, okay, imagine if somebody.
No, I'm like, I would not think that. That's what I'm saying.
Imagine somebody watched Bram Stoker's Dracula from Francis Ford Coppola while they were doing housework, and then decided they were going to remake it.
Yeah.
And put it in France.
Oh.
With
That's
perfume.
where it needs to be.
My wife didn't fall asleep during it. She liked it. I'm not going to say anymore, okay? But it's Luc Besson, and again, it's as problematic as that other thing we were talking about earlier with Piers Anthony.
Yeah. Honestly, it wasn't on my radar to watch.
If it's free on streaming, go play putt-putt golf instead.
I love putt-putt golf, so that's a great recommendation.
There you go. Go to
wanna
the dog park.
I want to get to your new book. By the way, you also have 4 other stories that you mentioned at the beginning of the story that are coming out as well. We could touch on the Curse of Katie Elder, Whirlwind, The Witch in November, and The Telling of Bees if you like.
Okay, so there's more. Those are coming.
Yeah, but I want to talk about
Curse of Katie Elder's with the publisher. We are in the process of editing it now. We're expecting it to be released sometime around April. The publisher is Carnage House. They have a great website where you can go read short stories for free on it, carnagehouse.com. And one of my stories is up there called The Breeders. It made it to the Best of Carnage House Volume 1 print book as well. And that story's catchphrase is basically, what if John Wick met the Sawyer family? The Sawyer family is the people from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I was hoping Tom Sawyer.
So the Curse of Katie Elder, that's postulates that Doc Holliday is a vampire in modern day.
Oh,
it's basically the Night Stalker with Darren McGavin meets Rounders meets From Dusk Till Dawn. Okay, that's the elevator pitch on it.
That's an easy sell. Yeah, I love that.
And then after that, Whirlwind's going to be coming out sometime around the fall. I'll have it done. But in August, I've had to do some shifting. I'm putting out another short story collection, and it's called All I Have Left of You Is Your Blood. And that's going to be 12 splatterpunk short stories, and that will round out my trilogy of short story collections.
I'm absolutely going to buy them. First off, it's a trilogy, and that's what I remember of Clive Barker's Books of Blood. So any short horror trilogy, I'm in.
My trilogy is Immoral Dilemmas, We Are 13, and All I Have Left of You Is Blood.
You have a new fan.
The cover art for that was done by Matt Seth Barnes. He also did the cover art for The Curse of Katie Elder. He did the cover art for Dead We Don't,
which I think is fucking amazing, and I'm using that word on purpose.
I saw that. I was like, oh, that's the cover to this story. Yes, it is. I handed him money.
Done. Yeah, good move. Good move. I loved it. Do you want to tell people anything about the story? Any ways to wet their whistle, elevator pitch it? Yeah.
The title. Let me tell you about that title. Deadwood Don't. That's Onondaga. Onondaga is a tribe of the Haudenosaunee, or Haudenosaunee, however you want to say it. Lilac. Who cares? They're also known as the Iroquois. You've probably heard that word.
Yes.
Okay. So
the Onondagas. Sorry, go ahead.
The Onondagas are the head tribe of the Iroquois. And on their reservation on the Onondaga Nation, there's a restaurant called Firekeepers, and my wife and I eat there frequently. And when you walk in, there's a sign up there that says Deadwood Don't, and underneath that in English, eat with us. Deadwood Don't is eat with us in Onondaga. So I'm like, oh, that's a perfect title for a Wendigo story. But the Wendigo trope is racist as hell. I could flip that on its head with a Bella story. And then this was born. So just going to a breakfast one day led to me writing that book.
And there is time epics in this story as well.
Yep. Last 2024 during Friday the 13th weekend in December, the Tug Hill Plateau, which is about 40 minutes north of me, got 4 feet of snow in one day. And this story takes place during that snowstorm.
And it sounded thoroughly unpleasant. You did a good job.
They got 6 feet in one day this year. That's all I'm going to tell you.
I knew it was bad when you had the lead rope between the cabin and the outhouse.
They always do. You have to.
I've never been in that situation. I'm like, oh, that's not good snow.
They have lead ropes at the dorms at Oswego University, SUNY Oswego.
I had no idea.
Yeah, because, okay. This is something that a lot of people don't understand or know. You're going to learn a little trivia right now.
I've seen your interviews and I'm here for it.
Upstate New York is the home of L. Frank Baum. Do you know who he was?
Yes, I do.
He wrote The Wizard of Oz.
I'm seeing it next week in Vegas.
He was born in Chittenango, New York. He went to school where I live in North Syracuse, Mattydale. His family were farmers. They were Irish descent. They grew geraniums. They were flower farmers. One day in the mid-1800s, when Frank was walking to school in the middle of summer, it started snowing on that flower field. You write what you know. See the poppies with the snow falling on it.
I had that image in my head.
And when he would walk to school, he would go down the toll plank road that was next to the Erie Canal. You could pay a penny to walk down that road so you didn't get muddy. Guess what color that plank road was?
Gold. So it wasn't based on the gold.
It was yellow.
Standard.
It was yellow. It was a yellow brick road, yellow plank road. Yep. Okay.
I love
the
it.
Producer here is from Rochester. So that yellow that's on trooper cars, that's the yellow. All right. So direction that the wind blows from on our planet. Do you know which direction it generally blows from?
My guess is, except for the United States, west to east.
It blows from the west. Correct. Now, when wind blows from the west and it goes across the Great Lakes, it picks up moisture. And when it picks up that moisture, it dumps it on the land as soon as it hits it. And during the regular times of the year, it's usually just a nice cold rain that we get. But starting in October, the Witch of November comes out. You see, the Cailleach comes into power. So she's the Irish witch that runs the earth from November 1st until May 1st. She takes over up here. And she lives west of us. So, could I ask you, Nathaniel, what happens when you dump a bucket of water on a pile of snow?
It melts.
It melts. It liquefies. What happens when you dump a bucket of water on the Wicked Witch of the West?
Strip show.
She melts.
She melts. Yes, yes.
The Wicked Witch is lake effect snow.
You're the first person.
When I say the witches come calling. Well, I'm not the first. Gordon Lightfoot called her the Witch of November in the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, if you recall.
Stop it. Stop it. You're putting stuff in my brain. You're educated me. How dare you? No,
the flying monkeys represent our win.
About your storytelling. You find these threads and you weave them like, a storyteller does. You're actually doing what a storyteller does. These are the threads. These seem like trivia. They're unrelated. Here's the fabric of my story. Like, you're literally doing that now, and you did it in your story too.
So the beginning of Deadwood Don't, there's a little section that talks about the weather there, and I mentioned the Wicked Witch in that.
And Frank L.
Yep, that's why I brought it in.
Which is all these things that are coming together, and maybe this is a great way to end it. Where they impact me, because again, I'm going to go see Wizard of Oz next week in Vegas at the Sphere, just because I want to see the Sphere out of morbid curiosity, and my wife likes Wizard of Oz. I've just been in Iceland. These things in your story, all these threads, like, they impact me, but you have so many things in there. I'm sure there's so many other people that have these stories in their lives. Like, that resonates with me because you seem to have this ability to find things that not everybody's been to Iceland. Not everybody gives a shit about Wizard of Oz, but there's so much meat in your stew that I think a lot of people can connect with what you're writing.
My fiction is very dense.
That's what it feels like, even meeting you. Yeah.
It's very dense. I put a lot.
But it's not overly wordy either. It's not super flowery. One of my problems with Stephen King was the typical. Everybody says he's too wordy. And that's a problem that I have, whereas my favorite stories of him are Four Seasons. Everything in those, like, I don't know what it is. But you're not that either. You have a lot of meat in your stew, but it's not just to be there. It matters.
It's because I love Robert E. Howard.
I almost mentioned his name earlier. Almost.
You know who my first mentor was, right?
No.
L. Sprague de Camp.
When you say mentor, what do you mean?
So I went to Who's Who in America at the library, and I got Terry Brooks' address, Stephen King's address, and L. Sprague de Camp's address. And I wrote all three of them. Terry Brooks sent me back a postcard and didn't answer my second letter. Stephen King, I told him that the Dead Zone sucked, and he was gracious enough to send back that troll a nice, hey, have a nice life letter. And I carried on a relationship with L. Sprague de Camp going on and off for 5 years. We were pen pals. And I called him on the phone a couple of times, just like you did to that one writer. And I kept picking his brain, and he kept giving me advice. So by that time, he didn't want nothing to do with Robert E. Howard or Conan. In fact, he wrote the snarkiest biography of anybody ever written called Dark Valley Destiny, which tears Robert E. Howard to shreds, actually. It does.
I haven't heard, maybe that's where I got, because I was really into the Conan, Savage Sword of Conan comics. That was my Friday reward for my mother. She would bring them home for me, every new issue. Read them, memorized.
Robert E. Howard, suicide note.
Yep. But I never heard a lot of great stuff about, even when they talked about him in the letters to the editor and stuff, like, they referred to flaws and things going on with him. And I wondered about that. I never dug into the man very much.
Bob was very much like any of us. He was just a normal person. He might have been autistic. He could have been bipolar. I'm sure he was. He killed himself because his mother died of tuberculosis. He was a mama's boy. He wrote all 21 Conan stories in 6 years.
Yeah. I know it was quick.
He was brilliant, man. My friend Wiley Young reminds me very much of him, especially with his prose and his appearance. He looks like Bob. He really does. And he lives in Oklahoma too. But I hope to go to Robert E. Howard Days next year. I was going to go this year, but I just can't swing it. But next year I want to go and pay my respects.
I should check it out. It's like I've always been a fan. The comics got me into the books. I didn't read them all. It was hard to find back in the 80s. Like, even my library didn't have them.
Conan the Warrior was the first one. I found it at a garage sale. And that's the first story in that is freaking Red Nails. And boom. And you read Red Nails, you go, oh, this is a fistful of dollars. But this was before Yojimbo. So it's pretty positive. Kurosawa was a fan of Robert E. Howard and liked Red Nails, and that's where Yojimbo came from. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I mean,
because Red Nails is a fistful of dollars. Yojimbo, Last Man Standing, whatever you want, the version you want to call it. It's Conan playing two competing tribes against or colonies of people in this lost city against each other.
Now yeah. Huh.
And Valeria's with him. The Red Brotherhood.
I got to go again. It's one of those things I got to go back and read. It's been a while. I was so into, like, Conan was my guy, and then Schwarzenegger was doing it. And it was like my world was perfect. It's like the kids today who grew up with Marvel comics, and all of a sudden they're making them into movies. That was Conan for me in the 80s. That was who Schwarzenegger was to me. He made my comic, my story guy real, and he did it well. Jason Momoa, I don't know. I didn't dislike it.
Jason Momoa's Conan is more like the Conan in the books than
yes. But I didn't necessarily like him in the role because I was so brainwashed to be Arnie. It has to, I know. Because the comics even sort of drawn him like that.
See, here's the thing that makes the big difference between the two. John Miles's vision of the Hyborian age is more accurate to what Robert E. Howard wrote than what the modern movie is. But the Jason Momoa is more like Conan. Conan in the books, you can't get him to shut the fuck up. He is talking nonstop. He tells you he's going to kill you, and then he kills you. All right? He is so verbose. He just doesn't shut up.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Conan. It. Yeah, because it was yeah. I didn't realize, and then of course you couldn't do that with Arnold, especially at the time. He had just recently been dubbed in his previous work, so
he worked off the guy's strengths, and that movie is brilliant because of it. Conan the Destroyer doesn't exist.
I mean, it had what's her name in it? Olivia Diabo. That's worth watching right there.
Arnold's Andrew the Giant plays a monster in a rubber suit in it.
Yeah. And the crew photo of them all together is one of my favorite photos of all time. Him and Will Chamberlain and Arnold.
Yep. And I have my Syracuse connection to that through Grace Jones. So there you go.
And Grace Jones is phenomenal in it. Like I'm watching, I think as a kid, I'm sure there was Butt. And then there was she's that girl from the 80s. And then as an adult, I'm watching, like, she really killed it. She threw 1,000% at that role. Like nothing was left.
I wish George Miller had put her in a Mad Max movie. She would have been perfect.
Yeah, 100%. That's what she was made for. Cool. Hey, we went long, Josh. You should have broken in here and
he's just loving the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's been a great time.
He generally is.
That's fun.
Definitely. Hey, Thomas, can I call you Thomas?
Tommy.
Thomas R. Clark, thank you so much for being here. It has been a pleasure to meet you. I could literally talk to you for hours. I think it's the 80s kid connection. It is the things that we all grew up with and love connection. Respect for you as an author, being so glad that David introduced us, that I've been exposed to your work, and that I am going back. I'm buying those 3 books. I'm going to buy your first book if I can find it.
Good Boys out there. Good Boys put a 5th anniversary edition of it out recently.
I'm buying it, and I'm going to meet you someday at a convention, whatever I can do, and I'm going to have you sign it because you're the real deal, sir.
So I'm going to be at AuthorCon in Williamsburg, Virginia, the last weekend of February. I'm going to be at an event in Arizona and Phoenix in August. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what the name of it is. Those are 2 of my big travel trips this year out of New York State. I'm doing a lot of stuff in upstate New York this year. I'm out there all the time, almost every weekend during the spring and summer and into the fall. I am, out there peddling my books and getting one fan at a time.
Hey, I've seen the pictures. I follow you on Instagram. Please follow Thomas on Instagram. I love the fact that you're open and you share and you love dogs. You're a hell of a guy. Thank you for being on the show. It's been amazing meeting you.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you guys for having me.
Thanks. We're going to get out of here, everybody. Thomas, stick around. We'll talk after the show. Have a good night, everybody. Be safe.
Peace.